3 years ago to today, at least as of when I'm filming this, I purchased my dream car when I was 17 years old. Now at the time, I was living up in Minnesota with my parents still. It was just a few short months after that I shipped that car along with everything I owned to Los Angeles, California, which was very, very far away, and started my journey of living there and then now living in Arizona. Well, if I were to really look and really think about the thing that has been with me the most consistent amount of time throughout the last 3 years, it's this car. Now, I've slept in this car, which wasn't crazy comfortable, but I've driven this car extensively. It now has about 53,000 miles and change. Granted, I didn't buy it brand new. It had about 9,000 miles. It was new to me. It's a 2015. But I want to explain in this video some of the pros and cons of the vehicle, the cost of ownership, the cost to maintain it, to insure it. I financed the vehicle. I'm going to talk about my financing on it. I want to just explain this car, which I truly believe to be one of the best cars for the money, especially right now in the market. So I know I've been making some car videos here on the channel. I keep getting some great feedback on it. You guys seem to want more. So let me know what you want me to film next. I do have some fun videos with the twin turbo Huracan planned as soon as it is done. It's been, I think, another 9 months completing the second, well, stage 3 version of the build. So that is very close to completion. I'm super excited for the crazy projects we have planned with that car. But let's go get a cold start. I haven't driven it in a few days. I've actually been in the process of getting rid of my Tesla, which you guys might have seen that video. Absolutely awful car in terms of the Tesla Model Y. Their other vehicles, in my opinion, are better, but the Tesla Model Y just didn't sit right with me. So, you know, I've had this car for 3 months, or for 3 years, and with the Tesla, I had it for 5 weeks and had to get rid of it. So I love this car. I mean, there's nothing better than this car, in my opinion. So we're gonna talk about some of the pros and some of the cons. Not every car is flawless, and then what it's been like to own that car and put nearly 50,000 miles on it myself. So without further ado, make sure to smash a like down below and let's go get a cold start. All right, and now that she's kind of warming up and sitting, I've got Tanner over here, who just about an hour ago, as we dropped off the Tesla to get that gone, because nobody wants that car, he got his tinted. Explain to us what the great folks at Dynamic Tint just did.
5%.
Yeah, the car, it's not even your car, dude. You don't even have the key.
That's the thing. But now when I'm in there, people can't see me when I'm in a car that's not my car, because people don't know if it's my car or somebody else's car. But it doesn't matter because they can't see me.
Yeah, they can't see you singing Beyonce, so it's great. He's got a 5% there, and then pretty dark on the front. You can't really see in at all. You may be able to see a little silhouette. You can kind of see the steering wheel, but looks good, buddy. It's like a totally different car now. It's like a black.
E-com season.
It's like a black bug. It's awesome.
I'll do it.
Go ahead, do it. No balls. It ain't even gonna work. Good try. Yeah, so he just got his car tinted. It looks amazing, but like I mentioned, we live in Arizona and it's kind of necessary to have some sort of tint just because the UV is so strong. So the tint actually helps protect that. And from my experience, this is one of the few states where you really won't get in trouble or get a fix-it ticket for having a deep tint. I haven't really heard of or seen anyone getting in trouble for it, and it looks good in my opinion. So yeah, I kind of put that on my car. I just like my privacy, especially with, you know, I mean, just in general, the cars that get a little more attention. I don't like to, you know, be filmed or be in the photographs or anything, or just have people looking in. It's also a safety concern because people will like look in your car when it's parked for valuables, and that could potentially, of course, lead to something, but nonetheless keeps the sun out and makes it a lot easier. So now we are headed out. I got to get gas, and then let's talk all things BMW M4. All right, so now that we can kind of talk a little bit more about this car, I want to point out a few of the things that I've done to it first, and then talk about some of the stuff I love. Because honestly, I was gonna make this video 3 things or 5 things I hate about my BMW M4, and I sat down and I was like, I really can't think of that many. And so I want to break this down. The biggest thing that I've done recently, and one of the only things I've done recently, is this steering wheel. So this is actually from my friend's company. He makes really cool custom steering wheels. I got one for each of my cars. It's got blue stitching. It has a little blue line up in the carbon. And as you can kind of see, it matches my wrap. So on the entire car, it's Austin yellow underneath. I'll show you that in a moment. And I have it wrapped a matte black with just a blue stripe down it. And I had the calipers painted blue, which was also a really cool kind of slight accent. So let me show you that real quick. So you can see the Austin yellow here in the door jambs, which is kind of an iconic color. It's not quite a yellow. I wouldn't have liked a yellow, but it's kind of an iconic M4 color. And then here is the wrap. So it's a matte black wrap. I've had it on the vehicle for almost a year now. Super simple, super cool in my opinion, very sleek, you know, not too attention grabbing, and the calipers really ties it all together. You know, it's just a good focal point that really pulls this color scheme together. I didn't want anything too aggressive, but you know, it's got like a subtle little touch. So that's what the vehicle looks like, and that's pretty much everything I've done to it except for what I mentioned at the beginning with the catless downpipes from Fab Speed, and it's a flame and burble tune that I just keep on burble mode from my friends over at Arcade Tunes. Now, when I bought this car, I actually didn't know a ton about BMW M4s. I was 16 when I fell in love with the car because I was in California for 3 weeks and I rented a brand new BMW M4 competition. Now, me being the idiot I was, I didn't know there's a difference between competition and non-competition when it comes to the sound. I thought it just might have been 50 horsepower, which it is. I didn't know there was a huge difference. But one of the biggest reasons I really fell in love with the car was the exhaust notes, specifically with the burbles, right? Where it goes pop, pop, pop. I'll put in a clip of that. And so I really liked that sound when I was playing around in California at 16 years old for a few weeks. And so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna buy one. And then I was doing some research, found what was at the time the best deal in the US. I bought this car sight unseen from Plantation, Florida, which is about 45 minutes outside of Miami. Keep in mind, I'm living in Minnesota and my businesses are starting to take off. I was really busy. I had been banking cash for a little over a year and a half, and I really wanted a car because I didn't have my own car. This is the first car I ever bought. And I didn't have the time to fly down there to look at it, so I had someone take the car to go get a PPI done, which is a pre-purchase inspection, and I purchased the car for full list price at, I believe, $54,500, if my memory serves correct from that long ago. So the only unfortunate mistake in that entire turn of events is I bought the car through a dealership. It wasn't a BMW dealership, but through a dealership, which means I had to pay sales tax, and I had to write a $4,200 check right when I went to go register it, which wasn't fun. And then trust me, I did not make that mistake when I bought either of my GTRs, when I bought my grandpa BMW, when I bought my Lamborghini, when I bought my R8. I did not make those mistakes because that's just an extra cost that you can avoid. And again, that was all 3 years ago to today. They had just put the car on the shipping carrier, which I made them include the free shipping because I gave them full price. It was like 800 bucks for them. But shipped it up to Minnesota, and I will literally never forget the date or how I felt that morning when I knew my car was about to be dropped off in a parking lot down the road in just a few hours. I mean, that was the coolest feeling, you know, because I had really been disciplined for so long. I mean, I had never gone to a single high school party. I'd never drank, I'd never smoked. Like, all I did for years leading up to that point was try to figure out how to make money. So just kind of a big thing for me personally. I never really talked about it with anyone, but I was like, you know, this is just a big moment for me. So I truly love the car. Now fast forward to today. The car has 52,149 miles. Like I mentioned, I bought it with about 9. So what I've had to do personally over the years has been almost flawless in terms of maintenance. BMWs are kind of known as maintenance nightmares, especially when they get higher mileage. This car has always been the most rock solid ever for me until 2 months ago. And let me explain before I explain the 2 months ago thing. I've only had to service this car once a year. I never went to BMW because I know they overcharge. I went to, my brother's a BMW technician, so he recommended different shops, you know, just like off-brand shops like Firestone and stuff like that over in California, where I could go for like 250 bucks, 300 bucks to get my service done instead of paying $1,800 to BMW. So about $350 a year, which is an overestimate for service. On average, I've replaced my tires every single year just because I do drive about 15 to 18,000 miles a year on this car, especially when it was my only car. The mileage has dropped in the past year since I've gotten many more cars. But you factor in those miles that I was driving is usually a little bit harder wear and tear on the tires than the average driver of this vehicle. I definitely like to have fun. It's a lot of acceleration, some drifting, hard braking. So, you know, tire replacement is about $1,200 for the full set every year. So I normally end up going, doing the rears more frequently. I've done the rears 3 times and the fronts 2 times now. So that kind of factors out. You could assume pretty much $1,000 a year for tires. So just kind of own and operate the vehicle before factoring in gas, which when I was really putting a lot of miles on the car, paying California gas price, it was about $400 to $500 a month in gas. Normal cost could probably be $200 to $300. It just depends on how much you're driving and how much you pay for gas. gas. Now the question that everybody always wants to know, how much do you pay for insurance? Especially since I bought this car at 17 years old. Now no, I did actually not go under my parents' insurance plan because the way that the vehicle was structured, I didn't want to potentially mess up their record. Even when you're listed as a sub driver as a kid, like a dependent of the family, it wouldn't have been that great. I didn't want to put my parents in an uncomfortable situation. So when I first bought the vehicle, it was my only car, obviously. $550 a month is what I was paying in insurance. Now, I didn't care because I was having so much fun driving the car. And yes, I am sitting in the back seat of it right now because there's plenty of space. Again, one of the reasons why I bought it. Now, normally this number should be going down over time because as you get more driving experience and you have a clean record, your insurance will drop. Well, I might have, you know, gotten older, but my record didn't exactly stay clean. So unfortunately, my insurance has not really dropped at all. What it is right now, which is actually the lowest it's ever been, is about $450 a month. So for me to own and operate this vehicle, if you're factoring in an average of about $300 a month for gas, which is if I'm not driving too intensely, that's $3,600 a year. Then you factor in about $5,000 a year for insurance, about $350 a year for basic maintenance, and about $1,000 a year for tires. Add those up, and this right here is the exact total of a rough estimate of what it cost me to own this vehicle. That doesn't include any modifications or anything that I've done to the car. For example, the wrap and the calipers, about $3,500. Doing the steering wheel, $2,000. You know, little stuff, the tune, downpipes, and installation, I think that was $4,000. I haven't gone too crazy with modifying this car. I didn't want to push it and, you know, do any sort of engine stuff that would potentially, you know, make the transmission explode or have clutch issues like I'm having on my Lamborghini and like stuff like that that might push the car in certain ways. This is just a reliable daily driver for me. Until 2 months ago, I had it was around the 50,000 mile service mark. I had an issue where the air conditioner kind of blew out. The whole coolant system needed to be replaced, which wasn't that big of a problem. It kind of happens on these vehicles. The oil cap over in the engine in the front is actually made of plastic, and those have a history of, after a certain amount of time, kind of going bad. And so I had a leak there, which caused the vehicle to basically shut down and keep going into limp mode. So I had the car flatbed towed over to the shop, and they installed a titanium cap so that that won't happen again. I overall, between that and the full service with spark plugs and every little thing, you know, it's a big service at 50,000 miles. I spent about $7,000 doing that in like a 30-day period. And that kind of hurt because, you know, I never really spent much on the car in terms of maintenance, and then boom, all at once it hit. But now the car is running like new, and I don't think there's going to be any more problems for another 30 to 50,000 miles. So I really can't complain. And when you break it down to a dollar cost average over each of the 43,000 miles that I've put on the car, it really isn't that bad, and it's somewhat comparable to a normal car. Yeah, it's a little more expensive because it's a sports car, and yeah, I'm young, so I drive it. My insurance is more expensive, and yeah, that's not factoring in some of the tickets and the court fees and stuff that has gone into it. So that's the ownership side of things. And now, surprisingly, I really don't have anything bad to say about this car. If I were to personally change anything, I might modernize the button layout here, but that's such a small detail, and I think they've already done that in the newer vehicles. This is a 2015. There isn't anything that I would personally change. I love the car. That's exactly why I bought it. I love the length of it. It's a 4-door, but only has 2 doors, which is great, if that makes sense, because there's large back seats. I'm 6'2" and I fit in the back. It has plenty of trunk space. I've road tripped this car. The driving works great in terms of setting cruise control. The steering is great. I mean, I really don't have anything to complain about. This car performs amazingly well. Now, I've actually brought this on the track one time. It's not a flawless track car, and you turn off traction control, you're gonna start sliding. You know, what's funny, as soon as I bought this vehicle, there was an article that came out about 3 weeks later, and I showed it to my mom. It said the top 5 worst cars for your first car as a teenager. And guess what was featured as number 2? A gold, keep in mind, a specific gold BMW M4, the Austin yellow, the same color as my car. And it was just kind of funny and ironic. They say that because of the horsepower and because of how much this car is typically known to drift and slide all over the road. But that's only if you have traction off, which, yeah, I kind of do. But, you know, as long as you know the car, I know the car extremely well. I've been fortunate enough to not be in any situations where I've gotten in any sort of accidents. I've never had an accident at all. Yes, I get pulled over, but that's me doing dumb stuff on on an empty road. I want to make that very clear. If you want to go fast, if you want to drift, it better be with nobody else around. That's just kind of my rule of thumb, right? I'll put myself in danger, no problem. I don't care. I like to go skydiving, but I'm not going to hurt anyone else in the process, right? So my own recklessness is kept to me. And now in terms of value, just to touch on this real quick, because a few people have asked me about it, $54,500 plus the $4,200 in sales tax. I was in it right away, about 60. Then right away I did all those mods, so it was about 65. But this car right now is worth a pretty easy conservative $40,000, and it's going pretty much no lower than that. So the car, in theory, I should have been buying right now, because the 2015 BMW M4s are pretty much at the bottom of their heavy depreciation curve. Yeah, they'll slide super slowly, a super small amount, but it's such a great bang for the buck. So if you want to go pick up a BMW M4, a 2015, it'd be a great buy. Get one, you know, try to find one in the high 30s, mid to high 30s, that's recently had a bunch of service work done around that 50,000 mile mark. I think you'll be golden and you'll be more than fine. This is not a paid video by BMW, obviously. That'd be cool if it was, but this is just my honest opinion from someone who, as a first car owner, purchased this car, has now had plenty of experience with other cars, owns many cars, and has actually driven this a lot. I know every single little detail of this car. I know exactly what I need to feel in terms of the steering when I'm drifting at 60 miles an hour around a slight bend in a corner. I know every inch of this car. I know my tires, I know the radius, I know the distance of the sides, so that if I want to do something, I can do it in terms of maybe lane splitting with people around, which I don't really like to do, but I know every inch of it. I'm just so familiar with the car because I've driven it so extensively. And I'm someone who enjoys cars. I'm not the biggest car guy, but I do have a passion for that. And I've taken classes on defensive, offensive driving, what to do in snow, what to do in the wet conditions in terms of rain, what to do if you're driving on oil, if you hit a patch of oil, just all sorts of different scenarios. I like to drive, I like to learn the technical side of that, and so I've done classes and track days that kind of lead into learning more things about that. So that's what I've been having fun with, but I truly enjoy this car. If you guys want to see some more car videos, let me know what you want to see in the comment section down below. Now, someone recently said, do a M4 versus twin turbo Huracan race. Moment of silence for that person. That's pretty far off. You might have to give the BMW a half a mile head start in a mile race. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know, but let me know what you want to see in the comment section down below. I would greatly appreciate if you smash a like. I know this video kind of rambled on, but I really wanted to get through every single detail of the car because it's a great car. I love it. The trunk space is immaculate. The vehicle cabin space is immaculate. Everything works so well. And I'm just so happy about that right now, especially because I just had such a bad experience with a Tesla. And that was the first new car I've ever bought in my life, and it just really made me appreciate this one even more. So yeah, this is a long overdue video after 3 years of ownership, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, I greatly appreciate it. If you drop a like, it would help me out a lot. And if you have any questions or anything that you want to see here on the channel, leave it in the comment section down below. All right, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Peace.